Hello and welcome to another short video. In this one we are going to look at giving control of NPCs to a player character. This could be for a variety of reasons, for example Druid Wild Shape, or for a Spellcaster's Familiar, or various other things. This is a question which comes up quite often on the forums and on Discord, so I thought it would be worthwhile just going over how you do it, how you achieve it, and what the potential pitfalls are. So let's start then with our combat tracker. We've already got some player characters and some bad guys on it, and we also need a map. And we've already placed the player characters and the bad guys on the map. So we now need an NPC that we're going to give control to one of these characters. Let's say Lady Carter wants a familiar. So we open up our NPCs. We've already got this drilled down to a pseudo dragon, which I'm going to use for a variety of reasons, which will become apparent later. So the first thing we need to do, and this is the Dungeon Master's view here, by the way, obviously. So the first thing the Dungeon Master would be doing here would be to drag the NPC and put it onto the combat tracker. We can shut that, we don't need it anymore. So we make the NPC visible, and then we need to change the NPC to being friendly to the player characters. It starts off, obviously, because it's a monster, as hostile. So we just click the faction button here until the faction is friendly, and the NPC is now the same color as the player characters. The second stage is to place the NPC on the map, so we just simply drag the token as usual and place it on the map. And then the third stage is we drag this icon here, this will be the shield icon or the dragon icon, whichever theme you're using, and we drag this and drop it onto the portrait of the player character that we want to control this NPC. So we're going to drag and drop it over Lady Carter's portrait. And we can see now that the NPC sheet has popped up. Now if we switch to the player view, we can see that this mirrors what's on the Dungeon Master's view. The character sheet has popped up. And the player now has control of this NPC. That means that the player can do pretty much everything that the Dungeon Master can do from the NPC sheet. The player can't unlock it because it's locked here, but they can, if they wanted to, make a strength saving throw, for example, by clicking on the small S icon next to the strength. They can make a dexterity check by clicking on the C next to the dex check. We can highlight various things that we can see on the sheet, and anytime that you see a highlight like this, it means that you can double click it to make that attack or skill check or whatever. So we can make a perception check by just double clicking, a strength check or a stealth check by double clicking that one. And if we scroll down a bit, we can see that all the other actions, the bites, the attacks, melee weapons, etc., saving throws and effects are all being highlighted when we mouse over various parts of the sheet. So this is how the player would be able to make this make these rolls, because if we advance the combat tracker, we can see that unlike the Dungeon Master's side, because in the Dungeon Master side, obviously the everything opens up and the Dungeon Master can do this from the combat tracker, but the players don't get this. So the players would have to control everything from the NPC sheet itself. Now, whilst we're on the Dungeon Master screen, the first thing that always happens is that the Dungeon Master shared the NPC. He doesn't want this particular NPC sheet cluttering up his screen, so he closes the sheet. Of course, that also closes the sheet on the player side, and if the player goes into the NPCs button, there's no pseudo dragon there. So how does he get that back? Simple enough, we just double click on the token on the map and the pseudo dragon sheet reappears. So the pseudo dragon, it's now the pseudo dragon's turn. So the player who's controlling the pseudo dragon can now do whatever they want to do, just like they would with their own character. So if they want to move, they just simply drag to the place where they want to move to. The Dungeon Master would accept the move. And now the pseudo dragon is in a situation where they can attack one of these beasties, and the player just simply holds down the CTRL key and clicks on the monster as they would as if it were their own character. And as you can see in the combat tracker here, the pseudo dragon has targeted Orc 1. So since they've targeted, they can now make an attack. So let's make a sting attack. Double click that. Let's move this so that we can see the results. We've hit. We can now do damage to the Orc. And because we did that, we can force the Orc to make a Constitution saving throw, which it actually succeeded in. But if it had failed, we can then double click on the poisoned, and that makes puts the effect onto the Orc. And it's also unconscious, so that would put the effect onto the Orc as well. So all of the things that the Dungeon Master could do, the player can now do because they've got control of the sheet. Now the second gotcha, the second thing that people worry about is that the pseudo dragon's now finished this turn, but the player can't click on the turn complete. The combat tracker won't move on from this particular NPC, so that's something that the Dungeon Master has to do, and it just goes back round to the next character. And if we take it back again to the pseudo dragon and switch back to the player view, there is one other possible thing that might go wrong, and that is if the player inadvertently clicks, even though it's the pseudo dragon's turn here, if they click on some other character, if we now try and target this Orc, you'll see that the wrong person gets the targeting. So it's important that before you do anything, that you make sure that this dark line is surrounding the token here, meaning that it is the pseudo dragon's turn, and we can see now that the control is back with the pseudo dragon and he can target once again. So that's another little pitfall just to watch out for. So I think that's just about it. I can't think of anything else that we need to discuss. So thanks for watching. Bye for now.